Somebody told me actually you should start a good presentation with a joke. As is Amazon, we always do something different. I would tell a very serious story now instead of a joke. So when I first came exactly today, 26 years back to Czech Republic, I got arrested for 6 hours. It's true. The reason was that I drove a lorry and I brought a lot of medicine to poor people at that time. And they stopped me at the border with 2 tons of medicals. And I didn't have anything except my passport. Luckily, after 6 hours, I found a letter from Václav Havel, and then that got me through, and we got escorted to here. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really happy to see all those changes. And things changed a lot over the last 26 years, and I was so impressed when I arrived, because I've never been here in the last 26 years. And I realized there's a lot of, blinking adverts, a lot of colors, a lot of funny things going on in retail. And I thought I'm going to do only one slide on Amazon because I was told I should do kind of more an educational instead of a promotional session. So little bit about Amazon for those that don't know. So we've been founded 20 years ago, a little bit more than 20 years ago. It's a company with more than 100 billion revenue from Seattle based. And basically, we don't only run business in the retail. So most people know us from online e-commerce shop, but we basically do have a lot of other business around it. So we do have Twitch, which is a community for young people to interact, live streaming of games. We do a lot of entertainment for the people. So we have Amazon Video, Amazon Music, and it's very important that we also have our Amazon Cloud. So a lot of countries, a lot of retail businesses, a lot of banks, they actually store all their information on the Amazon Cloud, which is the world's biggest cloud system. So we've been always coming up with new ideas and new things. And I would like to tell you a little bit from behind the scenes and diving deep into Amazon, why basically this happened. So one thing is basically you're going to see not the very nicest slides today from Amazon because we hate PowerPoint. We don't use PowerPoint because PowerPoint is very superficial. You only write a few sentences, but you never dive deep. And it's so important in your retail business that you connect all the bits and pieces, and you should dive deep. You should really try to use things like Word. We use Word and we write 6 pages. And it's so incredibly easy if you tell your employees or all the people in your company basically, write sentences that are really to the point. Please write a sentence saying, next year we're going to be 21% above target. And don't write, we should be above target. So put numbers into it, and this is diving deep. So Amazon is really number-driven from its heart. And that's something which is very important to the company. So basically, you're going to see very bad slides. I'm sorry for this, but you're going to find hopefully a lot of dive deep from myself. So what is the goal? The goal of Amazon is, and the goal of every retail business, and you should be a customer-centric company. Only the consumer counts. It's not that you should watch competition. We never, ever do watch competition. Because competitors, they always tell you what others been doing already, and you will always be second best. The consumer tells you what he wants. So you need to watch the consumer. You need to gather all the data around the consumer, and you really, really have to focus on the consumer. That's the best practice that we do. And by being customer-centric, we have a sentence called, start with the customer and work backwards. So one easy example of this is basically if we want to launch something new, like a new business, we start with the press release. So we first write a press release, sometimes 3-5 years back. Because in the press release, you want to tell what's going to be the figures, what do you want to be announcing, how many people you want to have to the program, how many, what kind of service you want to launch. And so it's a way to work backwards. And you first listen to yourself and listen to the consumer and ask, what does the customer want to hear? And then you work backwards. And this is kind of a really good strategy basically, how you can understand more about the consumer and how you can get ahead of other businesses. And Amazon is really, really focused on leadership principles. So it's something which I understood when I read the headline here, like bringing back value to retail business. I felt, you know, like Amazon does a perfect job. I'm really passionate in working there since 3 years because the leadership principles, they're really to the point. So I just picked out some, which is, for instance, customer obsession. Customer obsession is really like, as I said, we work backwards from the customer. But another one is ownership. Everybody, every single person in the company has ownership of something. And they are really responsible for delivering the results. And this is something which I saw in a lot of other retail companies, which is not really the case. You know, there's some very few people that are responsible for things, but do they really take ownership? Do they really think about the long term for the company? Does everybody sacrifice short-term gains versus long-term goals? Very often that didn't happen. So I think ownership is very important in a retail environment. Another thing that we're living on is invent and simplify. So it means we do expect everybody to drive innovation. You should always think about every day, how can I make things easier? How can I make things scalable? Because scale, that's something which is really important in business. And most people always think like, oh, let's open another shop, let's open another shop. Can you scale that? So can you open millions of shops? Very difficult. So you have to find ways and always, you know, invent and simplify things that you basically really invent new things that you can scale. Think about scale, and then you have a very easy method to basically get ahead of time. And another thing is insist on highest standards. It's like we always try to meet the highest bar. You know, it's like even in hiring, like we're hiring the best people always, and we're trying to always raise the bar. So every time we're trying to hire better people, that basically can make the difference. And not, you know, there's even some jobs that are open for 2 years because we don't find the ideal person. We just want to raise the bar on it. So those are some leadership principles. There's many more. You can find them on the website of Amazon. It's quite interesting to read through them to basically build your own identity maybe for your company. Another thing which is kind of a secret, you all know about it, but I don't think you've maybe seen it like this. So this is the Amazon flywheel. So what does it mean? So every time we start with the customer experience. Customer experience means the customer wants basically only 2 things. There's a lot of other things always mentioned, but I can assure you it's 2 things. He wants lower prices and a big selection. So you need to build to be the best, you need to build the biggest selection with the lowest prices, a very easy thing. And most companies don't always think about it. They drive a lot of projects around of engagement and around of delivery and all this, but basically it's low price and selection that drives it. And so the flywheel works that way, that lower prices are achieved by lower cost structure, so by scalability, and that leads to growth. And the big selection is driven by more sellers. More sellers are driven, you know, they're attracted by getting more traffic to the platform. And that is basically based on the customer experience. So that's the flywheel. And that's why Amazon is constantly growing and growing and growing, because we're always adding bits and pieces to this flywheel. And I would be happy if you, as a retailer, start selling through Amazon. So there's a marketplace. A little information for you. So we have got much more than 2 million sellers on the marketplace. That's one figure which we disclose. Usually we don't disclose that much figures. But interesting thing is, if you want to sell worldwide from here, you basically only deliver to our local center, so our logistical center based in the Czech Republic. And then we do the rest. So we do spread the goods across the world. You are the owner of the pricing, you're the owner of the description, so it's all in your control. And basically, we're only doing and servicing the logistical part, and we're also doing the marketing for your goods. So I told the guy from MasterCard to scream when I showed this slide. he does it. So basically, I wasn't sure if I could show an Amex slide here when on a conference sponsored by MasterCard, but I should also mention Visa, then we got all of them. So basically, American Express, we did something with them around engagement of consumers. So basically, some very few examples how offline retailers and online retailers can cooperate and how finance companies can cooperate together. I'm going to give you some very few slides on this. So we do have, with American Express and Visa, we actually drive in the UK, in Italy, Spain, and other countries, engagement campaigns. So basically what I learned from retail is that retailers need a kind of more frequency. They need people coming into the stores, and frequency counts. So what we did is we tried to combine new customer acquisition and frequency. So how it works is basically American Express, together with a retailer, they pushed consumers with a gift card from Amazon to enter a store. So there, somebody had a physical spend, and then basically they got an Amazon gift card for it. And then we kept the customers engaged, because finance companies basically want to have more spend on the credit cards. So we gave the consumers vouchers. Every month you get a voucher for fashion or sports goods or any category, like 5% off, 10% off, which Amazon funds. And therefore, people are attracted to get more frequently to the shop, because only with a receipt from a shop, they basically do get the vouchers. So basically, you would build the application on your site and exchange 5 recipes or 5 receipts, sorry. You would exchange versus the Amazon voucher code. And that keeps people engaged and coming back to the stores. That's just one example how offline and online can work together. That's a brilliant picture. I told you about PowerPoint, and we are not the best in PowerPoint. Brilliant picture from the UK. So this is a gas station, but it could also be a convenience chain. It could also be a retailer and bank. We do have Amazon lockers. So it's the very, very yellow thing you see there is the Amazon locker. So what does the Amazon locker do? We basically are that far ahead of time that we already know when you're on the platform what you're going to order. Those things are usually already stored in the lockers. So what basically happens is when you run through the checkout, we tell the people, it's just 300 meters walk away and you can collect the goods right away, or do you want to wait 1 hour until we deliver? That's only in the US, or next day in Germany, for instance. So a lot of people actually choose the Amazon lockers to pick up their goods. And basically, we do place the Amazon lockers in retail facilities and banking facilities. So people basically come to the retail facility where they can additionally get vouchers, where they buy some, chips, snacks, whatever. So we're driving people into the stores or into the bank. And basically, there's also the option on the Amazon page to do marketing for it. So we do marketing with Amazon Media Group, targeted to specific consumers, where we basically tell the consumer something about the business where they're going to go now to pick up their goods. So it's also quite a good cooperation between on and offline. So one slide about all this. So we learned a lot about that people in different environments really love to be entertained. And I think it's a big way for the retail business and very important for the retailers that you think about not only selling goods. You should think about how can you entertain people. Because I realized in a lot of retail shops in the US and a lot of retail shops also in Australia, Canada, they start building more an environment for marketing goods. So they basically try to tell people around goods, they make passionate about some stuff. They want to keep people in the store and educate them around products, not really selling the products. It's entertainment. And we do that as well. So we have built Amazon Instant Video, Amazon Prime Video, which is our video streaming platform, our music streaming platform. And this is now integrated into some planes. For instance, we do have Lufthansa and Delta Airlines and other airlines, where you do stream from the Amazon networks your videos. And what we realized is that it's exactly the same time when people stream or when they're in social media when they basically shop. So you should really think around, like, you know, I would not do marketing in a social media platform, but I would take the social media platform into the stores, or I would take the marketing facilities into the stores. Because if people like to get entertained at the same time when they like to shop, that would make much sense. And that's what we see really in our data. We do see that engagement is really strong when people do basically watch videos on the plane. And what very often happens is when people fly from here to the US, it's a quite nice story. What they do is that they basically watch the film and then they hop to Amazon and then they order on the plane. And they order usually, you know, power converters or such stuff. And when they actually hit JFK Airport in New York, or when they hit any other airport, they get delivery on the airport in the locker. So this happens, this is reality. And it's really like you have to think about how to combine basically entertainment and shopping. So this is something which is very important. So what about customer lifetime value? I think it's a quite easy take on this one from Amazon's side. We've been driving with a lot of retailers out there an increase in customer lifetime value by basically increasing the frequency that the people have. And I want to give you a very easy example. I took a local drink here. And what we did in the US and what we also did in Germany and the UK is that basically we plugged Amazon promo codes on here. And what happened is that the frequency on buying your drink or buying your burger actually raised because people needed to get 5 points or 10 points to basically collect an Amazon voucher. So we've been driving the frequency into the drinks or into the burger business and other businesses because people like the vouchers and they basically want to have a 10% off Amazon. And that's a kind of a perfect combination where you can see that offline and online really can work together pretty well. And you have a lot of other examples that you can think about with that. So basically I catched up a little bit on time. So this is going to be last slide. Basically, whatever you like to discuss, so we are very happy to discuss any specific solutions for any business. You know, we can incorporate our Kindle business, our locker business, not in Czech Republic, our media group business, and so on. And for those of you that don't know, for Czech Republic, we have a lot of customers from Czech Republic already, mostly running through the German side. And our Amazon DE site is actually available in English since shortly before Christmas. So you can go to the German and English office, basically on the German side, and you get a very quick delivery. So I think there's a lot of options, and I'll leave it to you to think about it, but I hope I did a kind of a half good job in giving you some insights on Amazon, like diving deep, and on the other side, doing a little bit promotion. All right. Thank you.
When Amazon will start with food home delivery in Europe, and just my question in the Czech Republic, because everybody here knows that you are opening your warehouse here, and just everybody are in big expectation from your
Yeah, it's
activities.
always that everybody hears more than I know. So basically, you know, that's the usual thing in Amazon. We don't disclose things about the future. So if you hear that Amazon will launch food business and home delivery, we do have that in the US, and it might come to Europe, and it might come sometime, okay? So we could always do the game that you guess, that you write down a date and give it to me, and I will send you a gift card if it really happens. But basically, there's nothing we have to disclose on that.
Thank you. Okay, one other question. There are rumors about your interest in Ocado. Any comment to that?
No comment to that.
Okay.
I think you should ask questions around, you know, you know, values of Amazon and, you know, something without numbers and without the future.
Okay, thank you. Amazon is simply amazing, but what do you do for sustainability?
Okay, so thanks for rating Amazon as simply amazing. So we do a lot of stuff that is for responsibility. So there's actually a web page which shows everything we do for sustainability and we do for charity and all this. It's a great page. Just go to amazon.eu and then you'll find it, all the information. But basically on sustainability, as I said, we have a very long-term approach. So we never sacrifice short-term goals versus long-term wins. And this is kind of very deeply into Amazon's DNA. And so everything that we do is basically driven by sustainability. It's very hard to basically give you all the details, but I think it's also for every business, also as I said today, it's very important that you think about sustainability and growth of your business on the long term.
Thank you. Next question. What's the biggest challenge for Amazon here in Europe?
Yeah, there's, you know, every business has a lot of challenges. I think as you've seen on the big thing that I showed, we have a lot of challenges in every business. I don't think there's a biggest one. I think everybody that has ownership in the company in Amazon has one personal challenge with his business. And I think the biggest challenge within the company basically is to find the cool and nice and really good people. Because it's like, basically, it's hiring is a very intense process within Amazon. I spend almost half of my time with hiring people. People don't believe that, but it's basically hiring people. If you have a growth of 30–35% every year, it's a main job of everybody. And we have a very hard job to do in hiring. So I think hiring is the biggest thing that we are facing.
Thank you. It's a challenge for us as well. Next question. What's the value proposition of brick-and-mortar stores according to Amazon?
Yes, some of you might have read we've been entering, so we've been opening one store in New York, which basically is more like a showroom. And that's basically what I think it's one value proposition that you, as I said before, that you should take into account is not only having things in store, it's like you have to entertain the people. So I think a perfect value proposition is like always look into how can you bring new products to the people, how can you upsell, and how can you entertain people constantly and keep them engaged. And that's something what I feel is what brick and mortar should do in the future, because that will basically secure its business.
Thank you for your answer. Just next question. How do you drive innovation and change through your company structure?
Yeah, so that all comes down to the leadership principles. Like I said, it's ownership, invent and simplify, dive deep. It's one which I didn't mention on the slide. So dive deep is a very important one because when we basically work backwards from the consumer or customer, we take a lot of data. So data is very, very important for Amazon, and everything is built up on data. So we basically dive very deep into data and trying to understand where the consumer heads. We're not looking at the competition, we're looking at the consumer. And that's where we drive basically innovation. The other thing is what we do is we have a team, which is the core BizDev team, which I'm leading in Europe. And we are very engaged with a lot of other partners. We have some million partners, from the smallest blogger up to the biggest retailer and banks and travel companies. And we always listen to them and try to build something together with them. So basically, innovation comes from listening to the partners and listening to the consumers and work backwards on data.
Thank you. We have time for a couple of other questions. Just question is still enough. I don't know if you have read the book The Everything Store,
Yes.
Jeff Bezos and the Age of Amazon.
That's a nice question. So so I can highly recommend the book The Everything Store. It's a kind of an unofficial book, but we always tell the people that almost everything in the book is really true. You find all the values, so it's not really like a promotional book. It's really like what is the good things in the company, what is the things where the company struggled, where did the company take the decisions and why, how does the company work. I've been reading the book, and I usually don't read that many books, but that book was really interesting if you want to learn about retail and about new approaches, new ways, new ideas. So highly recommend it. You basically can buy it at Amazon.
Okay, thank you. Some other question? Oh, that's good. Does Amazon consider changes to its corporate structure, for example, as in Zappos?
No, I cannot comment on that. So basically that's something which is definitely also in other teams, if would be other teams working there, but basically we cannot comment on future changes.
I don't know this question, but just try to read and maybe you can try to answer. We know what you are going to buy and it's already 300 meters away from you. Isn't that disturbing?
No, it's not disturbing. So basically that was when I mentioned the lockers. So it's basically somebody already put something into the basket. So he already told us basically he wants to shop that item. And when you drive through the checkout, so in the purchasing process where he has to pay, we actually give him options. And we give always consumers all the options that you should give them all the options. And one of the options is it's 300 meters away, you can grab it. And that's basically a very good option. If you think about things that people shop, they usually want to have them instantly. So they want to collect them. So it makes a lot of sense to do it. And there's no distraction of the consumer. Other things that we do in the checkout is basically, if some people bought specific items, we basically allow external companies to market in the checkout, so behind the payment process, to market things to them. So basically, if you're showing, let's say you're a bank and you want to sell loans to people that buy a house, and somebody bought a book around housing or surfing on our page around housing, we basically tell them straight away, we serve your ad to those people. So it's very targeted. And we are targeted by consumer behavior versus other companies like Google, they're targeting by keywords. So it's a different mechanism. And basically, I would highly recommend to test both, like trying to drive people to you. Both make sense.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Schmitz. Just maybe a last question, because our time is over. Are you planning on returning to Prague?
So that's something which is, in the future again. So that's nothing I can comment on. But I think there's plenty of great retailers in Prague already. So I've been a little bit shopping yesterday, and I'm happy to be here, so thanks. So I'm going to stay over lunch. If you have more questions which are not going to the future, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much. Já si myslím, že si zaslouží pan Schmitz.